my fair friends. I'm Ruby Ruse. This is Baby Bunny, and welcome to Fairy Fortunes. On today's episode, I have another question from an anonymous viewer, and Anonymous asks, have I been cursed? Well, that is a very interesting question, Anonymous, and I'm actually kind of glad that you asked it, although you may not like my answer. But before we get into talking more about curses, why don't we go ahead and do Anonymous's reading? Have I been cursed? The dragon now holds you in sight. You freeze in such fright at your plight. You've earned her respect, but quickly collect. Her favor will wake appetite. A show is acquisitio, a gluttonous aliquanto. The more she procures, the less she endures, the weight of her fate in escrow. When Rubeus Redcap appears, he'll force you to face darkest fears. There's danger ahead, but go forth and dread, or live your regret in arrears. So, Anonymous, in a 3-card fairy fortune reading, the first card represents you and what you are bringing to the table in this situation. And here you have the head of the dragon. So it can be very startling when a dragon turns to look at you. And I bet you're tempted to think that because the dragon has turned to face you, that she is going to tell you that you have been cursed. Well, actually, Anonymous, the dragon, when she's looking at you, when you face the head of the dragon, usually what that means is that opportunity is knocking for you. Opportunity to learn something from this experience. So you really didn't tell me what it was that made you think you were cursed. So I would urge you to look at the dragon's message of opportunity. You have to analyze your current situation. So you need to do some fact-finding here. So what exactly are your symptoms? A lot of people complain that they're blocked at every turn. A lot of people complain that they just have chronic illness. A lot of people complain that they just can't seem to get ahead in life, and then they think that they are cursed. These are all actually opportunities. I know it doesn't feel that way, and I'm not trying to belittle you, but I am trying to have you specifically analyze what is going on in your life right now. You need to nail down what it is that's causing you to believe that you're cursed. Is it your health? Is it the fact that you can't seem to get ahead in your occupation or in school or something like that? Is it romance? Do you keep getting into the same kinds of relationships? So use this as an opportunity. You really need to narrow down what it is, what symptoms you're having, to understand why you think you're cursed. What is it precisely? So the second card in a 3-card fairy fortune reading represents the question itself. And here you have acquisitio the aliquanto. Acquisitio in Latin means gain. So in this setting, this very much leads me to believe that the answer is no, you are not under a curse. And let me explain why. There is a lot to be gained from saying that you're cursed. So let's say that your issue is a health issue. You just are having all of these problems, you're experiencing fatigue. If you're cursed, then you can, if you say you're cursed, then you don't have to address any of those issues. You don't have to address that maybe you're fatigued because you're going to bed every night at 11 or 12 at night. If you're under a curse and it's a health issue, then you don't have to take responsibility. It's not that you are eating unhealthy, that you're catching sandwiches and fast food, driving where you have to go. It's not that, you're cursed. So are you fatigued because you're cursed, or are you fatigued because you're not allowing yourself enough sleep? You're not preparing your body with good foods. So fast foods seem so convenient. They seem so fast, don't they? But those foods sit in our systems longer than they should because the body doesn't know how to recognize them. There's all of this processed substances in those foods that the body has to think about and has to expend a lot of energy digesting. So you have a lot to gain by saying that you're cursed, because then you don't have to address the things that you're doing to cause your situation. If it's not a health issue, and for instance, it's that you are having problems in your relationship, if you say you're cursed, then you're not responsible for those relationships. It's them. I'm cursed, so I'm cursed to follow this same path every time, rather than you accepting that you're contributing to that situation. In our relationship statuses, it's very comfortable to gravitate towards people we recognize. So our lovers and our friendships often mirror our parents and our siblings. So I think it's not a curse that you need to look at. You may need to look at the personality traits of your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, and see if you can find those same characteristics in your lovers and your friends. I'm not saying that you deserve to be treated a certain way, but what you are doing is you are gravitating towards personality traits that you recognize because it's comfortable. Comfort isn't necessarily what's healthy. Once again, we can use the same metaphor for that fast food. It's comfortable. It's easy. Fast food in no way, shape, or form is healthy for your body, period. It's not. That's not to say that we shouldn't eat fast food, because you know what? You're right. It can be fun to eat sometimes, but we don't want to exist on that. So yes, you can have a few friends that remind you of your family, but you do have to start recognizing when you're gravitating towards a personality trait that is comfortable because you're familiar with it, rather than something that is encouraging and inspiring and helps you to be the best person you can be in the situation. And finally, the last card in a 3-card fairy fortune reading represents how these two forces are interacting together. So what you're bringing to the table, the question itself at hand, and finally, how are those two forces merging and coalescing together? And here you have Rubeus the Red Cap. I hope I made it clear that I really don't think you're under a curse here. Because in my opinion, Rubeus is reiterating all of that. Because Rubeus is about addressing fear. Not fear from the outside. Rubeus addresses internal fears. You have to face the most frightening thing within yourself. So this suggests to me that you're not cursed. You really have to take an opportunity to learn from these symptoms. So if you are fatigued, you have to look at your bedtime. You have to look at the food that you're eating. You have to consider that maybe you need to start taking supplement vitamins, that kind of thing. Maybe you need to see a doctor, a physician, a medical physician who can help you address the issue of fatigue, okay? If you're addressing work or relationships, you really have to see what you're contributing. You have to look for opportunities within yourself to improve that. There is a lesson in your own behavior that Rubeus is telling you you are unwilling to see. So you are not cursed, my dear. You have to make some hard choices and see what it is that you are gaining from putting all of this behavior onto a curse. If you say you're cursed, then it's not what you're bringing to the table, it's the curse. And these cards are very much saying it's not something outside, it's something that's coming from within yourself. So I'm going to put these cards down and I'm going to talk just a little bit about curses. Do I think that curses are possible? Yes, actually I do. I think actually curses are one of the easiest forms of magic to do. I think a person that has no magical abilities at all, actually all people have magical abilities, but that's another video. People that are not actively practicing magic, let's put it that way, have the ability to cast a curse. And why is that? Because what is a curse? In my opinion, a curse is directed hatred. So a curse is very easy to cast. Let's say that you and your sibling get into a heated argument and that sibling has intense hatred for you in that moment. That can be a curse. You actually might experience some physical, tangible symptoms that are kind of what you were asking about. You can feel ill. You can feel blocked. You can feel obstacles. Because it is that directed hatred. But there's another piece of a curse that's extremely important. A curse needs to be fed. What feeds a curse? Well, the biggest fuel for a curse is guilt. So going back to the scenario with a sibling, you have this terrible argument with your sibling, and they have this directed hatred towards you. If there is even a sliver within you that believes that you hurt them and that you were wrong, and you feel maybe you don't even feel wrong with the fight. Maybe you believe that you were justified, but now that relationship is damaged and you feel bad about that damage and you feel guilt about that damage. That's going to make a curse that much easier to land on its target. It has to have fuel. So curses are very easy to cast, but generally they don't last. In the scenario of that is a very easy curse to do. But the thing about it is that our emotions ebb and flow all the time. So it's very hard to maintain that kind of focused hatred. It just passes away. So if you are inadvertently cursed by your sibling, yes, you might get sick. You might feel like you have a cold. You might kind of feel like, I don't feel like I contracted a virus. I feel like this is the effect of my sibling's hatred. It could be, but it's going to pass much like a cold does. It will run the course of your system, and then you will expel it. So curses are easy, but long-lasting ones, they're hard to maintain. You have to have a pretty significant battery to keep that kind of hatred going for a lengthy period of time. And I really honestly haven't seen too many humans or other beings that have the ability to maintain a curse for a long period of time. So curses, I do believe, are possible, but you have to feed them to keep them going, and that's not something that most people are willing to do. So going back to your case, Anonymous, it's time to analyze your behavior. You're not cursed. So make a list and do some self-reflection, and you are going to get through this. I know you will. So with that, keep us in mind. Let us know how you're doing. And for those of you, what are your thoughts on curses? Do you think I'm correct? Do you think it's focused hatred that requires fuel? Let me know your comments. Let me know your answers to that question in the comments below. And as always, have a fairyful day.